Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have from 1860 Ronrico Silver Label. Well, in 1860, when it was introduced, it was a Puerto Rican rum, but in the last few years, maybe just really like 2 years or whatever, it's been distilled at Cruzan, the Cruzan distillery in the United States Virgin Islands, and it's bottled by Beam-Suntory in Claremont and Frankfort, Kentucky. So it had gotten bought out many years ago by a Seagram subsidiary. I think it was General Wine and Spirits, but it was Seagram's. And then they went kaput in 2000, and now it's under different ownership. Okay, so the competitor, and this was $9.99 for a regular size 750 milliliter bottle. This is the competitor, Pontalba rum, introduced in 1989. It says, imported from the Caribbean islands. That's all it says, imported from the Caribbean islands. And it's white. It says right there, white. Let me update that because, well, I don't need to. It's obviously a clear rum, but they call it white rum. It's got a cream colored head and bottle neck and background showing an island scene, just like this one is. Probably they say the Caribbean islands because it might be sourced from different places at different times, depending on what kind of deal they get. It is bottled in Frankfort, Kentucky by, they say, worldwide importers. Wide world importers. But actually, Frankfort, Kentucky is Buffalo Trace. So if you go on the Buffalo Trace tour, which I've been on and 4 years ago, and it's very nice and free, they're not going to show you bottling this kind of stuff. They're not going to focus on their low-end product. Well, that's understandable. They're going to focus on Blanton's, of course, Buffalo Trace, Wheatley vodka, stuff like that. They're premium products, but they always have, and they still do, produce a lot of very low end, what you call well whiskeys, well liquors, or rail whiskeys at Buffalo Trace. But anyway, the Ron Pontalba I bought for $6.99 at Ricky's Liquor on Louisiana Highway 49, southbound in Kenner, Louisiana. This was $9.99 at Winn-Dixie on US 61. But I mean, all the Winn-Dixie got the same pricing around here, so it really doesn't matter. Go to any of them, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it for the same price, depending on what weekly ads they're running. Or Ronrico. But I could have gotten a 1,750 for $12.99 and saved a lot of money per ounce, right? But I just didn't really feel like dealing with that much of it. And it turns out I made the right choice, I think, because the 750 is more than enough. It's fine. Ronrico is not remarkable enough to spend extra money. And in fact, it's not really remarkable at all. My main problem with Ronrico is that I can't tell it apart from other ones because there's nothing to distinguish it. I keep saying that this rum tastes like any other rum I'm reviewing. They don't all taste the same, but for whatever reason, it just seems to taste like the other one. Okay, and that's strange a little bit. So it's an old brand. They used to run a lot of advertising for it, not on television and radio, because that wasn't even allowed until the last few years. But a lot of magazine ads for Ronrico and probably billboards. But back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even 90s, early 90s, you saw a lot of Ronrico ads. Then it faded away because the company that owned it started to fade away. Seagram started to collapse, and they couldn't really support the brands with adequate advertising, and then when it got bought out by other companies, that Ronrico just got pushed to the back burner, you know, forever. But Seagram's was trying to own record companies, like they own MCA, I think, Records, Music Corporation of America. They own like Polygram Records. They own amusement parks. They own magazine companies. They own DuPont Chemical Company. They didn't really know what they. Apparently, they and they were the largest distilling liquor company in the world. But they ran into a problem in the 90s where they couldn't apparently pay their debt. Their revenue did not match their expenses. So a real problem. And then when that little mini depression or recession hit in 99, 2000, then that was it. Okay, well, enough of that. The Seagram's brand still exists, but the company does not. The Ronrico brand name exists, the company does not. Now, Pontalba, Ron Pontalba, there was a rum from New Orleans back in the 1930s. I know that for sure, called Pontalba rum. Pontalba rum. Apparently, it was made by the same people, Sazerac or Handy, Thomas Handy, Peychaud's liquor company, which became Sazerac. But for whatever reason, Pontalba went away, and then it came back in 1989 as Ron Pontalba, the Spanish spelling. Pontalba rum. Dallas Cowboys. Good morning, Ron. Good morning to you, TC. Now, Pontalba is a real historic name. There are apartments surrounding the Jackson Square in the French Quarter in New Orleans called the Pontalba Apartments. They're owned by the state of Louisiana. They're very expensive public housing. They were created by Michaela Almonaster, Baroness de Pontalba. She was Michaela Almonaster. She was a daughter of a Spanish grandee, meaning a noble born in Louisiana, Spanish Louisiana, I think in 1795. She married a French noble, Baron de Pontalba. They had children who all stayed in France, and apparently her ancestors all live in France today. But she stayed in Louisiana after Louisiana got bought out by, talking about buyouts, got bought out by the United States of America in 1803. She stayed. Her noble title wouldn't have meant anything then, legally, but she was a real estate investor. Yeah, that's right. A female real estate investor, you know, back in the 1900s when supposedly women couldn't do anything, weren't allowed to do anything. But of course, that's mythology, really. She was a real estate investor, and she constructed the Pontalba Apartments. And if you go, and they were built like the 1840s, and if you go there today, the grill work on the iron railings on the balcony around the square, they all say AP all the way around, which is Almonaster Pontalba. AP, Almonaster Pontalba. Her maiden name and then her married name. And she died, I think in the 1870s. She lived a long time. And then they even named a road after her in New Orleans, Almonaster Boulevard, which is like an industrial boulevard with a bunch of old factories and warehouses and swamps, like in the swamp in New Orleans, eastern New Orleans, Almonaster. You say, well, I don't know if she wanted that named after, but it is there. Munir Kasimi says hello. Hello to you. All right, let's go with the taste challenge. The Pontalba is a little bit cheaper, so already it has the advantage by being cheaper per ounce. Now, if it's a tie in flavor and aroma, then Pontalba wins. Okay. The aroma here is very basic. It's just like a kind of bland slightly sugary alcoholic beverage. Yeah, 40% alcohol beverage. So there's not much going on there. Same thing here, maybe a little yeastiness. And now that yeastiness is kind of making me think of Ronrico, because I remember that Ronrico had like that yeast fermented bread thing. Well, you know what I mean, yeast, bake with it. All right. So appearance, Thai, both, something got some hair hanging. Appearance, Thai, aroma, Thai, both kind of bland. Beer Hounds beer review says, "What up, Ron? Just doing a beer review. I mean, a liquor taste challenge, rum. All right, so taste. I'm wondering where daylight is. Sugar, little black pepper, but that's coming from the wood aging, and there's no black pepper in it. You just get a strange peppery note. And believe me, there's no way these are aged a year. I mean, there's, I guess, theoretically possible, but I doubt it. They're probably minimally aged in wood barrels and filtered through charcoal in a very cheap manner. Now, if you're an official rum of Puerto Rico, which neither one of these are anyway, but a rum of Puerto Rico like Don Q or Bacardi and some other ones, and if you look at that website, the Rums of Puerto Rico Trade Association, you have to be aged at least 1 year. The minimum is aged in an oak barrel for a year. And then there's some other protocols they have to follow, quality protocols, to be listed as a rum, quote unquote, rum of Puerto Rico. But these are not aspiring to that level, and they're just inexpensive. I did see Don Q at Savannah Discount, but I didn't buy it because I'm backlogged anyway. The next white rum, clear rum, silver rum is Cane Run, another one of those Buffalo Trace products, Cane Run. Sazerac likes to talk about Cane Run. They kind of brag about it a little bit. It's been on the market since, I think, 2015. It's pretty inexpensive. I got a great deal, an unusually cheap deal, a whole handle for $9.99, which that's even unheard of around here. Usually you'll pay about, well, twice that for a handle. Rum. Haha, that was funny. Yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. All right, so this one is pretty basic. Let's go over here. Pretty much the same, sugary sweet, little less pepper spice. I think that's the Pontalba. Now, what I remembered about Ron Pontalba was that it was totally unremarkable. Just like bland, basically. $6.99 a liter, you know, don't see it too much. Apparently it's real popular in Texas and out west. But east of the Mississippi River, nah, it isn't. And that's why I've only seen it, I think, once east of the Mississippi River. Then the crack, a granola blueberry stout by Topa Eagle Rock Stout. Oh, that sounds very good. I drank Marvel Roast yesterday. We were examining Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company products last night, and some of those guys didn't want to do it, so they did Wildcard Wednesday on Eric's channel, Thomas Meadow 75, and I didn't care. Although I don't know why they had to go at the exact same time, but I guess they're in the habit of Wednesday 7:20. But whatever. Anyway, the only beer that they examined that I ever heard of was Left Hand Nitro Stout, which I like. I don't know if I'd give it a 99 or 98 what he gave it, but it's still, I mean, I wouldn't do that, but it's very nice. But I knew I was going to be drinking a beer that was pretty bland, Old Milwaukee, which is good. I like it, but I wanted a little beer excitement yesterday, so I drank Marvel Roast beforehand, you know, a couple of hours before, hour and a half before. Marvel Roast from Founders, delightful beer, very strong coffee flavor, mellow, mild, and great. And I enjoyed it. Yeah, you drink some good stuff usually. Yeah, I mean, you know, I jump around. Low, high, middle. I might be doing Bourbon County Stout one day and doing Four Loko Grape the next. You know, I don't worry. I don't have any shame or I don't have any concerns, what I mean, about the level of the product. I just like trying them. It's sort of like a project that I'm working on. And you say, what's the project? The project is, oh, just trying everything, seeing what it's about. And that's it. Talking about it, doing videos, you know, a general interest thing like that. It's not a religion, and I'm not on some great quest. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Actually, nothing. What's your favorite these days? I don't really have one, actually. I've been drinking Keystone Ice as a standby beer. I call it my standby beers. Why have I been drinking that? Well, A, it's cheap. B, it's easily attainable, usually. And C, I like it. I've been drinking it off and on since 1996, so why not? And I can hit sales at Winn-Dixie when they'll have them for $8.99 a 15-pack. Yeah, it's all right. You know, Keystone Light was my go-to for you. Yeah, the light is a little too bland and thin for me. I like the ice better. It's got more body, more character, and you know, all of that. Okay. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not saying it has great body, fantastic character, it's erudite and exquisite or anything like that. You know, nobody would think that, but it's nice. Okay, these are so close. Oh, so very close. Which one do I prefer? They both have a medium body, medium short finish, really. It's kind of a short finish. They don't linger. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, depending on what you like. I don't care either way, actually. Never had the ice. Yeah, the ice is good. It's an ale too. It says it's always said that too. I went looking at my cans from 1996. It says ale. I don't know why. It's a top fermented ale. Maybe because they don't have to lager it and they can put it out quicker. And they figured out a way to make it faster and cheaper, but tastes just as good. Who knows? You know, lagering is a little bit more difficult. Bottom fermented yeast, and they got to lager it. They got to cellar it in those aging tanks. Ale's a little quicker, but a little dirtier, you know, a little more fruity flavored, which people like. I like, you like, they like, everybody like. How does Kessler stack up on your list? I need to do that ice. Yeah, Keystone Ice, do it. I'll watch your video. Y'all know I'll watch videos. I'm mainly a viewer who happens to make my own videos. I mainly watch. Kessler is probably the second best American blended whiskey based on my experience so far. Of course, the number one, in my opinion, is Seagram 7 Crown since 1934. It's not going to be $9 a bottle. It's more like $14 a bottle, or $12 if you're lucky. But it's a much more credible product, let's call it. It's got a good bourbon flavor. It's made with 25% straight bourbon as opposed to that minimal 20%. Used to be 35% though. It has been cheapened. It's 80 proof. It used to be 86.6 proof, so it's been watered down. But Seagram 7 Crown still is rolling along, even though the company Seagram's is not. Kessler would be number 2. It's also a higher percentage of straight bourbon. It's 72.5% grain spirits, right? And 27.5% straight bourbon. So even more straight bourbon, which is obviously Jim Beam. And more than likely Jim Beam bourbon that didn't make the cut, you know, like they thought it was off in some manner. So they blended it with grain spirits and sold it as Kessler. Because they bought Kessler. Julius Kessler was a separate company at one time making their own blended whiskey. But they got bought out. But that Kessler is pretty good. And it's the second best-selling blended whiskey in America. It's not popular in Louisiana, although I can buy it. I can buy it at Dormax. But it just isn't. Now, up north, I think, and like up in Ohio or something, it's like really popular. Everybody sells Kessler. How is Kessler so smooth like that? I don't know how they get it like that. Nice. I always like Kessler. I never tried that Seagram's yet. Morning. Yeah, hey, Julie. Seagram's is very popular, and you can find it anywhere. Seagram 7. Their famous 7 and 7 blend, you know, mixing it with 7-Up. In fact, Seagram 7 Crown is one of the top 10 selling whiskeys of any sort in America. Blended, straight, bourbon, blended bourbon, whatever, rye whiskey, all of that. You take all the whiskey sold in America and you make a list of the top 10 best-selling ones. Seagram 7 Crown is in the top 10. I mean, it's not number one. Used to be close to number one, still in the top 10. Of course, number one is Jack Daniels. Number two is Jim Beam and all of that. But still in all, there's Seagram's running, holding its own. Which one should you try? Try them both. Hi there, Bill. I'm hurting this morning, staying home. Sorry, Jules. All right. Well, let's close this out. Quality, tie. Which one tastes better? Well, they taste equally good. And I don't mean great. I just mean, good. Kind of dull, but that could be said for so many beer, wine, and liquor brands. You see what happens is you drink all these highfalutin craft beers like super bitter, super strong, 13% alcohol, super chocolatey, and so on. And super expensive too, I might add. So you say, well, drinking all these fancy beers is like being at the circus. It's like, oh, so many fantastic colors. Dun, dun, dun. And so you get caught up in that, and I don't mind being caught up in that. But then you go back to regular products, just normal mass appeal products. And then they'll be, in your mind, you'll say, oh, it's so dull, it's so bland. Well, it is relative to what you were drinking at the circus, so to speak. But if you would just be drinking all the fancy pants ones and the chocolate and the cookies and cream and the banana puree and the banana pudding and the whiskey barrel this and the rum barrel that craft beers, then those would start becoming bland. You see, in your mind, you become so used to them. So I think that's the Ronrico here, Ronrico. Based on it has a little bit more spiciness, but it's so minimal, it's really not worth talking about. Have a lot get done way behind. Yeah, well, I understand. There's no rush. That's the thing about doing beer reviews. There is no rush because there is no necessity of it, Thank you for the years of great reviews. Any chance we can see some more Johnny Walker label reviews in the future? Yeah, there's a very great chance, considering I plan to buy all of them. The black next, double black after that, the green, the platinum. I avoided those specialty ones like Song of Fire, Song of Ice, because I said, well, they're not going to be around. They just made for a TV show. Even though Walmart had them so cheap, I rather focus on stuff that everybody can get for the long haul. You know what I'm saying? Stuff that's around for the long haul. Like your Johnny Walker Black Label, your Dewar's 12-year aged, just stuff that is going to be 20 years from now. Everybody say, yeah, I'm still getting my Dewar's, that kind of stuff. I'm still getting my Budweiser. I'm still getting my Sierra Nevada Bigfoot, we hope. Sorry, you're hurting, Jules. Hugs from Orange County. You just tried the Black Label, huh? I want to try it. Thanks, guys. You're welcome, Jules. All right. I think this is the Ron Pontalba. Is it extraordinary? No, of course it isn't. But here's the important part about this. One was $6.99 a liter, and the other one was $9.99 and $7.50. But they actually taste good. I don't have to make apologies like, well, it's kind of all right. That's what you would expect for such a low price, that you would just make the argument that it didn't make you gag, But that's the great thing about these. They're so cheap. Oh, so very cheap. $6.99 a liter. And although they don't set the world on fire, they don't make your brain sparkle with excitement, they're both very competent and enjoyable in objectively, objectively in a subjective sense of it, objectively good in a subjective sense. So would I recommend them? I certainly would. I would recommend them, and I would say buy it, try it. You probably like it. Probably won't love it, but you probably like it. So in a practical sense, the Pontalba wins. The Ron Pontalba does win because of considering the extremely low price, but the relatively high enjoyment units, international enjoyment units are relatively high. It is smooth. It's sort of like a wallflower. It's just going to stay there. No one's going to pay any mind to it, but it'll trickle out of the liquor store. A few people here and there will buy it. They know about it and say, oh yeah, that's my after work rum, whatever, but Ronrico's not far from that. Gets a little bit more attention, but not really much. And that's about all you can say with these two. Clapping for Jules. Yep. You take care now, Jules. All right. I'm going to say this is the Pontalba. Now, if it says letter R on the label, then I'm wrong, and I can live with that. It doesn't. I got it right. So what differentiated the two? Well, not a whole lot, but there was a bare minimum difference based on pepperiness. And I did find the Ronrico had a little bit more pepperiness, which interestingly, I'm not exactly in love with. I think it's so close though. Don't even pay any mind to this part. You can cut this part off and not watch it. I would recommend it. But I think I do, by the tiniest little bit of margin, prefer the Ron Pontalba. But it's not really worth talking about the difference. But I do, if you ask me, if you press me on it and said, no, I want a differentiation, which one is better? I would say, well, I guess the Ron Pontalba, but it's a essentially meaningless question. But now what's coming up next? I guess Saturday morning. It won't be any kind of challenge because we're going to have Ronrico Silver Label against the extremely bizarre, but not bad. It's just bizarre. You see, a liquor can be strange, but it doesn't have to be bad, or it can even be improper. Like there's no way rum should taste like this. All right, but not be bad. And it's the odd, very odd caliber silver label. Silver label. I have trouble saying that, especially after tasting so much of the rum. I didn't really taste that much, but you know what I'm saying. Get a little tongue tie. Da 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 da. But I say no. My daddy says I'm fine. All right, Jeep and Foodie says morning, Ryan. Morning to you. We're gonna have Ronrico Silver, trying it again. How you say that word? Silver. I got it. Silver. J Silver Heels. Against the bizarre caliber, which tastes like strawberry shortcake. True story. So it won't be any kind of challenge. It'll just be a frivolous little fun time video. And then we're going to get into it. You want to get into it, don't you? We're going to get into some tequila taste challenges. Oh, yeah. I'm not sold on tequila. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been trying it, but I'm not too sure I want to be buying it. But it's interesting. It's interesting. I knew it would be. That's why I was trying to avoid it. People kept saying, try tequila, try tequila. I was like, no, I'm kind of busy. But the real reason, of course, I mean, I was busy. But the real reason, the root of the matter, the heart of the matter, was that I didn't want to try tequila because I knew what it was going to lead to. It was going to lead to what? You know, me running out, buying all this and that tequila and doing all these taste challenges. I knew that from the get-go. But unfortunately, I was at River Ridge Market a few weeks ago, and a lady says, "You want to try some Avion?" I think that's the name of it. Tequila. I say, well, I guess I will. And I tried it and it was really good. So I said, well, here we go. The mania has begun. The mania has begun. And yeah, you know, I bought a mezcal also. If I'm gonna buy tequila, I may as well buy a mezcal. So I bought one of these old venerable brands. And you'll have to watch that video as it gets posted. All right, thanks everybody. Y'all have a nice, relaxing, if that's possible, Thursday.